A new podcast just dropped from KSL Podcast and KSL NewsRadio. It's called Dating at Her Age. And Dave, as you know, I'm co-hosting this podcast.
This is awesome. My people are doing it. This is so great. My producer, my co-host,
Yeah, that's right.
Debbie and Caitlyn have launched this Dating at Her Age podcast. And this is something our listeners may not totally know, but for probably the entire time you and I have been doing this show, 6-7 years, you've talked about this. You've actually said, you know what? I ought to do a podcast on this because you have some crazy dating stories.
Let me give you a sneak peek of the podcast. The first episode that just dropped this morning, it dropped at 4 a.m. Have you ever gone on a coffee date with a man who served hard time in prison?
No.
I have.
You've had a lot of dating disasters.
They're married and masquerading like they're single on dating apps.
And it's inspired me to stay off the dating apps, honestly.
You're an inspiration to me because you are not addicted to dating apps.
It has been years since I've been consistent on the apps. They tend to do more harm than good in my life.
I always thought that dating apps, you should be putting your best face forward.
Yeah.
Not your worst body part online.
It sounds awesome. All right. So Caitlyn Johnston, our producer and host of Dating at Her Age, is in studio with us. So I want to ask you a few things. Can I throw some stuff at you?
Absolutely.
All right. Number one, so it's been a while since I've dated. I've been married for 25 years. So my dating experience is obviously it's dated. Like what is dating now?
It's
How do you
not
date?
good, at least in my experience. I can't speak for everybody. It just seems like it's turned kind of artificial and very shallow, which is just due to the digital age and the apps and whatnot. So I don't love dating. I don't do it a lot. I was forced to get back on the apps because of Debbie, because we were doing this podcast, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. Didn't like my time on there this last time either. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had the best experiences, but I just feel like it's because of how accessible everybody is and how we lack the depth of connection.
What I really appreciate about this podcast, Dave, is Caitlyn is 29 years old. I'm 57. We're both struggling to date in this world of dating that's very much leaning into the digital way of dating. And we come at it from two different perspectives. And it's not just a podcast about our dating app disaster stories like this one. I was at coffee with a man who tried to take the life of another human.
Yeah. Run for the hills.
And he'd served time.
And honestly, this could be so common because there's no way dating apps can vet that. So it's just, yeah, this is why I'm scared of dating apps in a lot of ways. You never know who you're talking to. I got stood up once because they got arrested for selling drugs.
What? This is the thing. This is what women are, at least we are facing in our dating lives.
Okay, so this is okay. A little scary because you're both smart, successful, accomplished, beautiful. Like you're all these things. If you guys are not having success, where does the success lie?
That is a great
Beats me,
question.
Dave.
Yeah, and that's what we're in search of. And in our second episode, which drops next Thursday, so every episode drops on Thursdays at 4 a.m., right, Caitlyn?
Yep, that's middle of the night. But
middle of the night.
First thing in your feed, though.
We talked to psychologist Dr. Tom Golightly about what Caitlyn calls dating in the wild, and that is our initiative to try to get off of the dating apps and get out of the digital connections and try to find somebody in places where we would naturally like fit into.
Yeah, this is my biggest thing. This is why like I said, I don't like the dating apps. They seem artificial. And so I'm just like, okay, I forgot how to talk to people. I think everybody else did too. Mm-hmm. And I have observed this. I've been very observant over the last month or so. Everyone's head down in their phones, always just really fast on the go. And I don't know how to meet people. Like, what do you do? What do you say? I'm so socially awkward. It's not well.
Why don't dating apps work? Because I would think they would be outstanding. I think I would have been a phenomenal online dater because what I like about it is you're putting yourself out there saying, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm available, and presumably everybody else is as well.
I think Dr. Tom, when we talked to him, really hit it, why dating apps don't work for everybody. And I feel like this was an aha moment for me of I'm just using dating apps all wrong.
Our phones are a vehicle. They're not the end point. And so many people use these dating apps, and it's like, well, I am dating, but you're not. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app. I'm all about a minimal interaction before we do a little bit of an in real life meetup. So, hey, okay, I'm intrigued here. I don't need to keep going back and forth. Let's go to Starbucks.
Let's just meet.
Let's just meet for a little while and see if I want to do more of that. And I think too often we'll go back and forth in the DMs or the direct and comments and different things, and we'll go into a deep dive there in those spaces.
I think that's where I've lost sight of what dating apps are useful for. So I get caught up in weeks of back and forth chit chat, not really recognizing that he's not really interested in meeting me in person. And so then I get frustrated at the dating app. And if they're not, to me now, what I've learned from this, if they're not interested in meeting almost immediately for a quick coffee date, just to see if there's some little bit of a connection, then I need to move on and disconnect from that person so I can have the dating apps work for me, because for 6 years they've been working against me. Or I haven't been using them in the way like that. I've been allowing these conversations to drag on and on. And the other thing that has been difficult about dating apps for me, and Caitlyn, maybe you feel the same way, is that the people don't always put all of their dirty laundry on dating apps. So that's why I have ended up at coffee dates with people who have a rap sheet. And that doesn't fit into the life that I've led. So there's not going to be a second date. But that is a tricky thing about dating apps. You might not know that just by looking at their profile.
Yeah, and I agree with everything she said. And that I just thought that I was really bad at dating apps because I can't keep up with my phone all day, because you know how busy the day goes. It goes by very fast. So if I'm like required to sit and have a full-on conversation with someone all day or like throughout the day, it does not work for me. So I get so overwhelmed and overstimulated by it that when Tom said it's just meant to start something and then you move on to in person and go from there, I think that it was a light bulb moment for me.
What's the biggest difference between dating at 29 and 57?
I mean, we see things differently, because I think, for one, I'm a little more forgiving, and she has a very specific checklist she's looking for. I do too, but she has much more knowledge than me, and these people that she's dating with have a lot more history. They may have kids, divorces, things like that. I may have that too. I'm 29, 30. That's definitely possible, but I think that I just see things a little bit more, I don't know, optimistic, I guess. But yeah, we just are learning. I'm learning a lot from her on what not to do and what to watch out for and red flags and all these things that I just am not even thinking about.
Well, the clear difference and what makes our podcast so unique is that your runway is really, really long. I mean, you're 29 years old, and my runway is much shorter at 57 years old when it comes to, being able to take what I say, just corrective action. So if Caitlyn's meeting a man who maybe has had some financial hiccups along the way in his 20s, there's time to right that ship.
Yeah.
But at my age, at 57, if he has a history of bankruptcies, or he's just, really bad with money and he has credit card debt up to his eyeballs, at my age, 57 years old, I'm staring down the road of retirement probably a lot sooner than Caitlyn is.
Yeah.
That financially, I just can't afford to help him right that ship at my age.
And you are in different stages of your life. You're not going to be raising kids anymore.
That's another thing.
And that's
Can we talk about that next?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, dating in 2024 has been so dicey that our amazing producer, Caitlyn Johnston, and I approached our bosses a few months ago and said, can we do a podcast about dating? And today, Dating at Her Age officially launched. The first episode dropped with a +1. So there's a bonus episode. You could find it at KSLpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. So as part of this, Dave, what we're doing in our first episode is sharing some of our dating disaster stories. I think there's a lot of people who can relate to this. I happened to sit down for a date one day and figured out that the guy had been convicted of fraud. I look him up online, and he spent time in prison for fraud. Fraud! Do you know what I did?
It's better than murder. Attempted murder, I guess. I'm just saying.
Wow. I didn't realize, you've had some bad experiences dating. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you get back into it? How do you not become so jaded with dating that you still want to go out there and try again?
Can I give you a tip that my therapist, I went to therapy and talked to my therapist about this. I go regularly because I think it's just good for my mental health. And he said, don't be attached to the outcome.
Okay.
Just go have fun. Don't be attached to the outcome. Start meeting people, get out there, go have fun. And one of the best ways to meet people at my age, and Caitlyn, you might feel differently about this at your age at 29, but at 57 years old, is the dating apps. But those are also where some of my disaster dating stories have come from. What are your thoughts?
I mean, you're probably right that it is the best way to find people. It's just not the way I want to find people. It feels incorrect to me. So, but yeah, you're not wrong. It's just the today's day and age, and I don't like that part of it. I get stuck in situationships, which just means the relationship without the label, and then it's just you're in this big toxic cycle forever, and you don't know what to do with it. So it's just dating all around is just, I think that I am jaded with it, and it got kind of ruined for me, and I'm just like, I'm single, I'm fine, I'm happy.
And it's hard to jump back into it.
Yeah.
I am interested because I think the premise of it is fascinating because you are different ages, it's a few decades apart. Debbie, what are you looking for at 57 when you're dating? And then Caitlyn, I'd like to know at 29, what are you looking for?
Well, in my dating world, and this is not necessarily in any sort of order, but I'm not looking to date a man who has like a 10-year-old child. My kids are grown. Grandkids would be great. But if you're still in the throes of raising your kiddos, that would be a difficult place for me to be in because I'm an empty nester, and I just want to go have fun and travel and see and do all the things that I haven't been able to do because life has been so busy for all of these years. The other thing that I'm looking for is a man, preferring a man who doesn't have a significant rap sheet. And
I mean, I'll take a little rap sheet, just not a significant.
Well, I think at this point, there's been enough guys that I've gone on first dates with. I found out they do have a pretty hefty rap sheet. That's not the world I've operated in my whole life, so I would definitely not be interested in that. But beyond that, pay your bills. Maybe you have one asset, like you have a house, and maybe it's a townhome or something like that. But pay your bills. You love your kids love you. If you have an ex-wife, you have a good, decent relationship with your ex. I think that's really important too. I don't want to get in the middle of some sort of
something toxic.
War of the Roses Part 10. So that's just pretty basic, right? That's I think what many women my age want.
Doesn't sound terribly greedy. How about you, Caitlyn? What are you looking for in 29?
I agree with everything she says, but I just the only thing that comes to my mind. I have a lot of things, but I'm just I just really want someone who's nice to me. Which it says the first thing that comes to my mind is how low my standards are when you ask me that question. But just we're all looking for just a partner in crime, like just someone to go through life with, and who will be there for you during all the hard times.
Don't say partner in crime. Debbie had opportunities here.
Fun in life and experience and stuff. And also, one thing that's important to me is someone who respects my space and the work that I do every day, because I am very busy and I kind of worry about if I did have a relationship, I wouldn't know what to do with it, honestly. And I think I wouldn't be that great at it. So I have a lot of work.
We would work on that together to make sure we're awesome at it, because you are awesome, Caitlyn. We got phone calls. Natalie from Bluffdale. Have you used dating apps to connect in love and find love?
I have.
Oh.
I have. 9 years ago, I met my husband on a dating app.
Awesome.
And we've been happily married since.
How did that connection go in the beginning? Was it just love at first sight?
Totally followed Dr. Golightly's advice. We connected and chatted just to make sure the other person was sane. And then 2 days later, let's meet up, have dinner. We talked for 2 hours. It was just a great connection.
Aww.
And obviously things went great from there. So I have so much hope for you guys. You're gonna find it.
Well,
You give me hope.
yeah, thank you, Natalie. Thanks so much. Tell your friends whether you're single or not. Dating at her age, it's a great. I was listening to the first episode. It's the fourth time I've heard it. I listened to the way in, and I was laughing on I-15. So there's some fun moments in it. We have more calls, Dave.
Let's go to Steve in Orem. Steve, what's going on?
Yes. I hope you don't mind a male perspective.
Let's go. Love it.
First off, let me tell you that if I was younger, I would meet your criteria.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
No rap sheet
Now-
from Steve. All right.
No. Okay, so the first thing, I tried the dating app, and it really didn't work for me. I tried a couple of the widowers groups, and that didn't work. So I've been recommended by different people, friends or family members, and that has actually worked very well. And what I do is I look at them on Facebook or anything else, look at their families, do quite a bit of research. And then I call them first, and usually I'll talk for, sometimes an hour, hour and a half, and just talk before we meet. And then we meet and go from there. I've got about 3 women that I'm doing this with. I didn't really want to date for a long time. My wife passed away a few years ago, but I see a need for it. Males need some kind of interaction, even though I do travel a lot and I'm active, but I need that stability, I think, at some point. So that's why I'm dating.
I lean into that too, Steve. Thank you so much. I lean into that. And it's important to have connection. I think it's important to have somebody you regularly do something with. And Dave, that's what I've appreciated so much with your marriage to Charlena, where you guys are, you're going on date nights and you're having fun and you're supporting each other in your work and career endeavors.
Yeah, we take it for granted for sure too, because we've always been together. So, being able to sit down and, have that discussion of what are we watching? No, I don't want to watch that. Let's watch something else. That is an every night thing where we can get together and there's a lot of companionship. And my mom was as a widow, lost my dad when he was 57. So at your age step. So they were very young. And for the past 20 something years, she's never dated. She just, and for a lot of the reasons, not that there isn't interest, my mom's awesome, but she's been afraid. She doesn't want the baggage. There's a lot of reasons why she's chosen not to. So I'm very, very interested to listen to your podcast, because I think there's some great lessons to learn from people that really, you've had all the experiences. You've had great success. You've had some failures. And I think you have some great advice that I look forward to.
Well, thanks. Caitlyn, tell everybody where they can get our podcast.
It's available at KSLpodcast.com, KSLNewsRadio.com. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can find it. And we're on social media, Dating at Her Age. So, yeah, join the journey while we figure it out.
And it's our inside joke, Dave, and it's free, like us, on Friday and Saturday nights.
I like my free time.
All right, Dating at Her Age, a brand new podcast. Proud to be co-hosting with our awesome producer, Caitlyn Johnston. You can find it, like she said, at KSLpodcast.com. And you can also find a link at KSLNewsRadio.com.